traveler. Still here, I see. Your courage is commendable, but your persistence is pitiful. Are you reaching the end of your quest, or are you approaching your doom? I don't know. My life doesn't revolve around you. I have other things to do. It's Dead Reckoning, Episode 6. Tonight we're going to be talking about majestic horses, cartoon violence, and the technicalities of ghost hunting. Join us.
I actually want to preempt this by saying that I follow a lot of tattoo artists on Instagram, and I saw
on Instagram,
and I saw this tattoo of a girl, like with dark hair and pigtails, she was crying and like her makeup was everywhere, and it had this little quote, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. What's that? And it turned out to be a film called Pearl from 2022. Which stars Mia Goth, and it's an A24 film. So they make all of Ari Aster's films. Well, they're the studio for all of Ari Aster's films. So Hereditary and all those, and also The Iron Claw. Actually, so they make psychological horrors, and I think I was right to include that in the horror podcast because they made that. But they made this film called Pearl, so it's about a young girl on a farm in 1918 in America, Texas. And I really liked it because, it immediately flashes up that it's in 1918. So you know that it's the end of the First World War. She lives on a farm with a German immigrant parent, one of whom, her dad is completely infirm, like he's had a stroke or something. And he's just in a wheelchair and he can't speak. It's there breathing. And she's got this really strict mummy. In fact, when I put that, so on my video watching service, often it will start with the subtitles. It'll just put it in a wrong language or with the subtitle, and it came up and it was like German and then like English subtitles, and I was like, I'm pretty sure this is wrong. So I started it again, and then it came up again. I was like, I'm pretty sure this is wrong. Started it again. So if you're out watching it on a streaming service, it does start in German. It's a German lady with English subtitles. It hasn't broken. It's just that's how it does. But anyway, she's obsessed.
Percy, is your streaming service above board? It sounds like it's
no.
below board.
I listen. Listen, I'm not so stupid that I would admit that I'm stealing any kind of media from anywhere. I have a streaming service. Sometimes it glitches with certain things. So I was watching this film, and so Pearl she's married, but it's like in the olden days when you got married at 18 and stuff. So, and she wants to desperately be a dancer, and be in the moving pictures, and 1918, right? So all the pictures she's watching are things like Charlie Chaplin and early cinema, and she's obsessed with. She wants to do that, but she's stuck on this farm with her German parents, and she hates it. Her husband is fighting overseas, and also she's a psychopathic killer, so she kills everyone. But it's just I thought it was a brilliant film. I thought it was shot beautifully. Mia Goth is really great in it. In fact, all of the acting in it is great. And then I realised that it was part of a trilogy. So the first film in the trilogy was called X, which is so Pearl is a prequel to X. But I think you have to watch them, Pearl and then X, because when I watched X after Pearl, it was so much more creepy because I saw it was the same set, same characters, and I knew what was going to happen in a way because I knew the character. And I think when you watch X, which I did today, it comes across. I think without watching Pearl first, it would come across as one of these psycho biddy kind of, films where an old lady goes mad and kills people. But when you've actually seen her as a young woman and you've seen like the story, I think it's much more effective because because Pearl, you want her to win. She's the villain. She's the murderer. She kills a lot of people. But I'm like, yeah, you go. You've, none of these people are particularly likable. They're all kind of like a bit odd, and you just want to live your life. And also, it was filmed during COVID, so part of Pearl is that America was under the Spanish flu in 1918, so everyone had masks on, and I just thought that was so effective of like looking at people's lives, how this young woman, like, yeah, she is a psychopath, but she has a whole life stolen from her. Like she gets married and then he goes away. She's like stuck on this farm. She's got no freedom. And like, I just thought it was super effective as like a really great horror film. And then I watched X, and I think the X. So the premise of X is that they're all it's like a group of people making a porno, like a soft porn film, but it's unlike most films where it's like they're transgressing social norms and therefore they have to get killed. It lets you actually relate to them. They're all really excited about making this film. It's not exploitative. They're like, we just really want to make a great film. And they're really excited about the quality of the film and that it's going to be shown on home video. And like the women are like really positive about it. And I just really liked that. I thought that was really cool.
I really liked the end credits of Pearl, where it's like done like an old Hollywood film, where it's actually like over the scenes of the film, and she's just like grimacing through all the credits.
Yeah. And it slowly like shrinks and she's got this Richter smile on her face. But I also really like the credits of X, which are just like very basic like 1970s sort of it's the everything about it has been really thought about deeply, and I really appreciate that. And I thought it was I thought Pearl was great, I thought X was great, but I really think that you have to watch Pearl first. Because I think if you watch X first, it can come across as a bit like, it's just one of these run-of-the-mill. There's elements of it where you're like, yeah, okay. But I think if you watch Pearl first, it's like, you relate to the character in it a lot more, and you get it, and you're like, rooting for her.
I loved X. I thought it was really good. And it's,
it's
like, it is a bit of a sort of cliche horror, but it's Ty West, it's done so well.
Yeah.
And then watching Pearl afterwards, but also if you didn't know, in X, Mia Goth plays Pearl in that as well.
Oh, yeah.
In makeup. I thought it was awesome.
I loved it. And one of the things that's like, so a lot of women ask me, why do you like horror? And it's like, I love horror because I think it's the only genre where women are the focus most of the time. They have like developed decent characters. They're the protagonists. They survive till the end. I don't know yet. A lot of women in horror obviously get horrifically murdered. However, that's the standard in a horror film, is that the woman's the center of it and she's important and you listen to her.
Yeah,
and that's not the same in anything else, in any other genre. And like, especially when I was watching it. So you watch Pearl, and I love, there's a lovely scene in it where they're all kind of sitting around. They've done the sort of shooting of the porno film. And they're all just sitting in the living room. And then lovely Brittany Snow, who is, she's Amber in Hairspray. She's a great singer. And she sings Landslide to the guitar. And like Kid Cudi, talking about rappers who were in horror films. So Usher was in The Faculty. We talked about last week. Kid Cudi is in X. And like Kid Cudi, it's not him playing the guitar. Because that's the one thing I was like, well, that's not him.
This doesn't have an ASUS4 in it.
Well, it's just like he's plucking, he's sort of like doing an arpeggio, but it's not the right notes that he's doing. But it's a really nice moment where she just sits and sings like virtually the whole song, where they all just sit and listen. And she's like, I love doing this. I love doing these films. I think this, and they have a lovely scene that's about 10 minutes long which is so sex positive, and it's so like, I was just like, you never get that in any other type of film. And I just loved that. And it's right in the middle of a horror film, which is a slasher film. Let's face it, it is. But it's like, it's sat right in the middle of a slasher film. And I just absolutely loved it. And I was like, yeah, I want more of this. So I recommend X and Pearl. And Maxine is coming out next year, which is the third film in the trilogy. But I would definitely say, I think, watch them chronologically, watch Pearl first, then X. Because I think I related.
X is a pretty standard format. Pearl is bonkers.
Yeah. So, but when you watch Pearl and then X, you know who Pearl is, and there's also, it's the same set, it's the same set in location, and I think when you know who Pearl is and all of her motivations and her feelings and stuff from the first film, you relate to her a little bit more rather than just seeing her as this mad. I imagine if you just watch X and you don't see Pearl, you just see this mad old lady doing mad shit. But when you actually watch Pearl first, you're like, oh, she's never managed to. That was her biggest fear, was having to live on that farm forever till she was 80, and she's 80 and she's living on that farm. And Mia Goth is just so great in it. Jenna Ortega is great in it. Is Wednesday in Wednesday. Brittany Snow's great. Yeah, Kid Cudi is great. Scott Mescudi, I should say, his acting name. Everyone, like all of the casting is so good, and it's like, I think a lot of the time when you cast a horror film, like you just get, I don't know. I was thinking about this about Rec. Like Rec has got great actors in it. X has got great actors in it, and I think people are starting to cast horror films now with really good people, rather than they used to be like, oh, it's a horror film, get any old shit.
Yeah, that's right.
But like, oh, it makes such a difference that they're all good actors.
But don't make the mistake of finding some great top tier actors and thinking this is going to be a great horror movie.
Oh no,
that has been proven.
Isn't that weird that really great actors are shit at horror, but then you get people. Yeah. I mean, I was like, so Brittany Snow, like she was in Hairspray. She's like the anti-hero in that, and she was just so great in it, and I was like, that's exactly the right casting for this film. She's meant to be the fun kind of blonde character in it. Like she gets naked a lot. She like loves having all the sex scenes, but she's really like a great actress for that part. And I think doing that, like, well done to the casting, because they got just really great people to be in it, and it elevated it a little bit so that it's not just the standard, cheap slasher where everyone's a bit shit.
Even with all the brutal murder in Pearl as well, the most uncomfortable part is where she goes for an audition, and it's just like a really weird dance scene, and you're just like, oh my god.
Well, do you know what I loved that when they like did the sort of fantasy scene in that where there's like soldiers dancing with her, and it's like the trenches behind her, and it's like, oh yeah, wow, that's so. And like there's the imagery where like she imagines a husband who's off at war stepping on a mine and exploding. Like I love all that because it's kind of, and it felt very like very close to the bone in terms of the pandemic and stuff, where you just kind of like, I don't know, it was very, they filmed it during the pandemic, and then it was about the Spanish flu, and they're all like, oh, watch, have a mask on and be careful and don't enjoy yourself, and it's like, that hit home quite a lot. Like, and then when she's fantasizing, she's like, oh, just fucking die. And I was like, do you know what? A lot of the time in the pandemic, when people say, be careful, don't do this, don't do that, I was just like, oh my god, I don't give a shit anymore. Like, I don't care. You can all die. I can die. I don't care.
Rip the mask off and start spitting on the floor.
Yeah, I just, I think everyone got to that point in the pandemic. It was like, I'm sick of being a fucking hero. Like, I want to take my mask off and spit in an old person's face.
Stand on the doorstep and clap for the NHS in my own face with a hammer.
Yeah, do you know, when I look back at that now and I'm like, why the fuck was I doing that? I don't know why I was doing that, but you had to do it. Every Thursday you had to do it. And it was like, but also in the back of my mind was all these thoughts of like, I don't give a shit. like, I hate this. I hate being forced to do stuff. I hate being trapped. And it was just I thought it was a really because in the future there's going to be in probably the next 5 years there's going to be a load of fucking COVID horror films that are going to be fucking awful. And I think Pearl was actually like shot in the pandemic, about the pandemic, but it was like not because it's set in 1918, but it was like things never change. You know what I mean? 1918 could just be today. People being told what to do and controlled, and like their lives being limited and all this, and it's like, yeah, so it was a really cool film.
We went to Wales to Ganwy and then walked up to Penmen Mar, if that's how it's pronounced. You have to excuse my lack of Welsh pronouncing. But we went to the Hefin Druid Circle. So it states that in the 1958 they discovered a stone grave in the centre of an urn containing the cremated remains of a 10-year-old child. And nearby another urn held the remains of a 12-year-old child alongside with a small bronze knife and a bunch of like quartz crystals. So they don't know if it was used for that, but a lot of the sort of archaeological investigations find that it could be used for like druid ritual sacrifices. And it's a pretty airy place, to be fair. It's like right on top of a hill. You have to, the trek up there is absolutely horrendous. Honestly, my knees were killing me by the time you like managed to like climb up. Got like fell runners like running past you, like, get up, you fucking fat piece of shit. They're like scrambling on your hands and knees, and they're just like really fit like 60-year-olds in like jogging shorts and a tank top. It's like, get the fuck up. But yeah, it's a very airy place. Plus we saw wild fucking horses on a cliff, and I was like, what sort of place is this? Yeah, it's like something out of like a painting. Honestly, but the stone circle itself is very, very airy, especially the fact that it's like right on top of a massive, like large hill, sort of semi-small mountain, and you can literally see for miles, like right off into the sea as well. You can imagine like thousands of years ago how sort of completely empty it must have been. I mean, it's a trek up there now, so you can imagine what it was like thousands of years ago. It would have been
tracking 2 kids up there.
Come on, time to die.
The sweets at the top.
Get in the bag. Like, do you want to see some wild horses? Just a little bit further. I'm just going off a country file review of the walk up there, and it goes, sinister tales surround the stones on the east side of the circle. A stone with a ledge on its face, which could have been used to hold a newborn baby. It is known as the stone of sacrifice. Legend had it sometimes a stone amidst sobs and moans. Standing opposite a deity stone resembles a hooded figure that is said that anyone swears near it will be struck down. So luckily, I managed to hold my mouth for all of 5 minutes. I was like, my girlfriend was just like, don't swear. I don't want you to fall off a mountain. I got like leprosy on the way down on my hands, and hands will start falling off. But yeah, that was an airy moment of my day today. But the wild horses were a quite interesting thing. I was like, we were like, who feeds them? And we were like, oh, probably all the grass on the ground. But there are large bales of hay that farmers have just like dumped in places for them. But I didn't even realise we still had wild horses knocking about, but obviously we do. But they were like completely majestic as well. It was like stood on a cliff with like its mane in the wind and stuff. I was like, that horse is like winning at horse life.
What do you eat? Excuse me, what do you eat?
Begging to be in a hair metal video.
He's just on like an album cover, like a guy with a double neck guitar on like a field of druid skulls. But yeah, the stone circle in Penman Mar is a very airy site, which is surrounded by some lovely horses. But yeah, that was something that I did today. But moving on to when Paul was mentioning last week that there was cartoons that he uses to keep the kids amused. I went down a sort of rabbit hole of this thing that happened on YouTube like a couple of years ago. But there was a scandal called Elsagate, where there was basically a bunch of YouTube videos and videos that were put onto YouTube Kids, which were basically tagged and put in the child-friendly part of the YouTube Kids. But a lot of the videos were like either AI generated or really surreal, like flash animations, where they were all basically starring random sort of knockoff versions of different characters, like Toy Story, or it's called Elsagate because a lot of them were based on Frozen characters around the time when Frozen was coming out. But a lot of the things in it where it basically, the way that they got views is it relied on people to just leave kids in front of the TV and just watching stuff, and obviously the next video plays after it, and the next one goes after it. But the things in the videos are insane. Like, it starts off normal, where they'll have like Elsa and whatever, like Spider-Man for some reason is in a lot of them as well. And then it'll go from like a normal thing where they'll be interacting, where in seconds they'll be like pulling the teeth out, or there'll be like a bottle smashed over their head. And a lot of them are like, there's a lot of videos as well where it's Elsa goes to the dentist, and it'll just be like a massive, like a big, huge mouth with all these crooked, horrible teeth. Or like it'll just be like sounds like the dentist drill. And there's some stuff as well where it's actually real people in it, but you don't know whether it's just like stock characters that have been animated, where a lot of the videos as well have things like people being like stabbed in the eye and stuff, and you don't know whether it was just done by trolls or whether it was like as a more nefarious means or whatever. But there was literally thousands of videos that were used like money farms for advertisers. It was in a point where before there was like the YouTube adpocalypse, where a lot of stuff was automatically demonetized, but it was all just on YouTube Kids, where they would have stuff mislabeled as, you know, like Spider-Man and Elsa, or, you know, other things. They're just really, really weird stuff. It would just be like random Disney characters, and then there's like stuff where it's like the Lion King goes to the dentist and it's just like screams where they're like pulling his teeth out, and all this stuff would be labeled under YouTube Kids. And it was just the whole thing where obviously parents would come back into the room while the kids are like watching stuff on tablets, and it's just like extreme acts of cartoon violence, like Itchy and Scratchy style violence.
It's like Channel Zero.
A lot of them as well. Some of them will have just background music where it's not even music, it's just like static noise, and then there's like dentist drills, and then they're just being like hit over the head with bottles and stuff. A lot of the animation kind of looks like Peppa Pig, where it's that style sort of like cut and paste, like cardboardy, like weird style or flash animation. But obviously it's not present anymore. This was around about 2017, but the fact that this got away for so long was just completely disturbing. And there's also stuff, there's the one where it was like an autopsy on a Teletubby, and it starts off like a normal episode, and then suddenly they're like cutting it down the middle, and it's got like all organs spilling out, and loads of kids were like watching this just in the background, and then be like, "Mummy, look at this," and it's just like Elsa having her eye pulled out and like teeth popped out and all sorts. And it's just like, what is happening? Like the deep dives on YouTube about the actual scandal itself are some absolutely horrifying videos, and there was hundreds of these all up on YouTube Kids at the time to be used as like a money farm. But yeah, proceed with caution if you.
It's got a sort of MK Ultra vibe to it.
Yeah.
Our brother Charlie was watching them.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. So again, he was just like given an iPad or something, and he would just stare at it. And I was watching it with him one day, and it was these. So the characters were from a show called Gumball, which he used to watch. He would have been about 4 time, so about that time that you're saying, 2017. And like the characters were from Gumball, but it was clearly not Gumball, and because it was not, I didn't have any of the theme tune or anything like that, but it was just the characters. And then it was just massively violent, like hugely violent. And then there was another cartoon that he used to watch all the time, which was basically someone got killed every single episode, and he would just watch. It was kind of like battle royale, but with cartoon characters. So a character died every episode, and you had to like decide who it was. And it's like, is Daisy gonna die? Is the puppy gonna die? Like, and it was like he was watching this, and I was like, is he okay watching that? And they were like, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's fine. But it was in you, unless you watched it with him. But I mean, like I was thinking, like, I guess it's not that dissimilar to us watching stuff like the cartoons that we used to watch. Where I remember one where a Foghorn Leghorn cartoon where like someone stuffs him full of dynamite and buries him, and then he explodes. And it's like, and then he's fine. He's fine, by the way. He just gets out and he's all just like the sus all over. He goes, I'll say, that wasn't a lot of fun. And it's like, that's horrific. Like, why would we watch that? But
it's like when Marge goes on a tirade against Itchy and Scratchy.
Yeah.
And in the next scene, he's breathing comfortably, just like in real life.
But just like in real life. And then, but it's like, we all watched cartoons where like characters died all the time. And like a very popular thing was that they would like, you would see the character like float up to heaven as an angel playing a little harp because they were dead. And like the whole point of Tom and Jerry was that Tom was trying to kill Jerry every single episode. And there was always characters trying to kill each other. They weren't just having fun. It was like Peppa Pig. Like all of the cartoons that we watched when we were kids were about people trying to kill each other. Remember when Yosemite Sam goes to hell?
Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah. Do you know what? They were like Wile E. Coyote trying to kill the Roadrunner every single episode, and now we look at it and we go like, "Oh, I can't believe they've got this terrible cartoon." But actually, most of kids' cartoons are so dull. There's no death in them at all. Like
they need to bring back death children's cartoons.
Well, that's what we used to watch.
Like, what's this? There's no death in this.
That's what we used to watch. Like you used to watch like Bugs Bunny get shot in the head. Daffy Duck shot in the head. You know what I mean?
And we turned out just fine.
Now we do a horror podcast and we're normal. We love to watch films with humans being shot in the head. We're fine.
There's a bunch of old wartime Disney cartoons where there's, I think it's Donald Duck, where it was used for like promotion for the war effort. And it's just characterized as like, there's like some really bad racial stereotypes, as well as like Donald Duck's on a production line. Like I don't think it's available to watch anywhere else other than YouTube now, but it's definitely like a time capsule into the way that they used to try and appeal to the public en masse.
Yeah, those old things and cartoons and Warner Brothers stuff, it was horrifically racist when you watch it back now.
Yeah, when you shoot someone in the face and they become like a gollywog type character, where it's all exploded in their face and it's like, mommy, and you're like, what the fuck? What? Like, that's what happens when you shoot someone in the face. You're like, okay, then.
They didn't think much of the Chinese either, I'll say.
They were not keen on the Chinese. They were not keen on anyone. Well, it was a very, very odd film. I teach on games development in our college, and we had someone from the university come in, and he's just worked on a game called Mouse, which is used the old kind of 1920s Mickey Mouse. You know, when he had dead long legs and was really gangly and weird, and he didn't really look like Mickey Mouse. And because
the copyright's expired on it.
Yeah. So the characters, the game's called Mouse, and it's just like a black and white, and it's like you just shoot Mickey Mouse. So your hands, it's like an FPS, and your hands are like the gloves that he has, and you have a gun or a hammer, and you just kill Mickey Mouse over and over again. And so this kid was like, he's not a kid, he's like 20, he's like 21, but he saw this trailer for the video game Mouse and was like, love it, but the music's wrong, because he's a music student, and he was like, nah, you need big band music. And he just kind of recut the whole trailer with his own music and like composed a load of big band stuff, and he was like, that's the music you want. And then they hired him like to
Oh wow!
to work. Yeah, he's like a consultant now on the video game of like doing the music and stuff, because he was like, nah, if you want to, because it's like you get the old like the drum, you know, that kind of like 1930s big band, and they're like, wow, like the trumpets that come in every now and then. Like he sort of recut the trailer using that music that he composed himself, and they were like, super, we love that. But it's such an odd game, because you're just watching like these Mickey Mouse hands in front of you shooting Mickey Mouse in the head, and he shoot, and like when his head comes off, there's like a bone, so as if like, you know, like a dog bone where it's like got the bumps on it, and that's where the head goes, and it's just the dog bone. It's like, that's not good anatomy. But you know, it's just cartoon anatomy, isn't it? It's like, oh no, I've been shot, see? Like, and his head explodes.
Like it sounds a lot like the game Cuphead.
That's
done
exactly.
In like the 1930s.
It's based. So Mouse was based on Cuphead, but they used Mickey Mouse, and they used all these like 1930s kind of like, and he does the kind of, you know, the bendy leg kind of thing where he's up and down and like, you know, he bends at the knees and he sort of bobs up and down all the time, which I don't know why that.
Yeah.
And the Skeleton Dance is a Silly Symphonies Disney cartoon where it's got like Minnie the Moocher is the music in it, and sort of.
I love that they've been putting those on Disney.
Yeah, they're great. Like I was
they're
looking
super
at, like,
creepy,
I remember.
but I love them.
Isn't it weird how like when we were kids in the 80s and we were watching cartoons from the 30s and probably just didn't realise they were from the 30s. Like all the Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, all of them, they were from the 1930s and we just didn't know. Them 1940s. Yeah. And we were just like, oh, they're just cartoons. But the violence in them is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
There used to be a really good cartoon history show on BBC with Tony Robinson. He used to do like a cartoon history thing where he'd do like a talking head thing where he'd talk about the history of a certain type of cartoon, and then they'd show like one of the like the Looney Tunes or something like that. It was only on for like half an hour, but it was usually on Saturday afternoons. One of the things I always remember when I think about old cartoons.
They did, so Rolf Harris's Cartoon Club did the same thing. And I remember there was a Canadian cartoon called The Cat Came Back, and it was just about a cat getting killed over and over again. And it's got this weird little song that goes, the cat came back the very next day. Yeah. The cat came back. They thought he was a goner, but the cat came back. And they just keep killing this cat over and over again. And it's like, that's why it's like, I suppose, there should be some outrage at little kids seeing violent cartoons where they think it's going to be Peppa Pig or, you know, Elsa from Frozen, and they get their teeth extracted. But actually, that's nowhere near as violent as the cartoons that we watched. And we're all fine.
Arguably.
I'm fine.
But it's that sort of thing, like, we're fine because we haven't been to we haven't spoken to like a psychiatrist.
Because it wasn't popular to go to a psychiatrist.
We're fine as long as we don't go to the doctors.
We didn't have a school counsellor. Didn't exist.
No. Write down how you feel, and it's just like pictures of a cartoon cat being bashed in the head. Like, this man needs more pills.
I feel like someone stuffed me full of dynamite and buried me in the ground and waited for me to explode. Wow. Just like Foghorn Leghorn.
But you did what with an oversized hammer? My week in horror was a Druid Stone Circle and being terrified by off-putting children's cartoons.
Nice.
I watched, I said I was going to watch Castle Freak, and I did. I watched Castle Freak. It's a good movie, horror movie. Like, it's well done and well directed, and most of the actors are very good in it. It's obviously, considering what it's about, it's, you know, it's a trashy horror movie. But there's a lot of scenes in it. Like, I looked and I couldn't see anywhere where it had, but it should have been banned, I think, at some point. Maybe because it came out in the 90s. It wasn't. But just some absolutely unnecessary, ultra gory, gross stuff in it. But then it got me thinking. So the Castle Freak I watched, and it said 1995. If you didn't tell me, I would have guessed 70s. I would have guessed it was a 70s movie. No, 1995. And the same with, Jed's going to do it at some point. I'm going to force him to. The Mangler. I watched. I've got to start watching Ted Levine movies. I think if I have a rule, it's do not watch any movie with Ted Levine in. I'm only missing out on one that I've already seen plenty of. I've watched 2 Ted Levine movies recently, and they're both just awful. Anyway, so The Mangler, and I watched it, and I was like, oh, wow, what a wacky 80s crazy movie. And we've got to do it on the show because it's amazing. And there's the best character and actor ever cast in a movie is in it. You've got to see it. It's absolutely astounding. 1995 as well. And I was like, 95 for both of these sounds a bit, I would go 70s for Castle Freak, 80s for The Mangler. And then I looked up and I was like, 95? Apollo 13, Jumanji, 7, The Usual Suspects, and so on. And then Castle Freak and The Mangler. And I'm like, my view of history is completely skewed now.
Castle Freak was remade.
Like, when did
it?
Captain Cook land here? Because according to this, it could have been any time up until 1976. These movies should not have been made in 95. They should have been made decades earlier.
Castle Freak. So I was looking on my my film viewing box, which is entirely legal, and I found.
We've already covered this, Kirsty.
I found.
The more you mention it,
I just want to point out that it is entirely legal.
The TV license people are outside.
Excuse me, I pay my TV license. I don't. Nobody else in this town does, but I pay mine. But I also have.
Do you remember that advert, the TV license advert, where they go in and the guy has a chicken?
Oh yeah,
rotated in there, pretending it's a microwave.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Kirsty.
I'm just saying there was a Castle Freak remake in 2020 because I was just on my
what?
TV. Yeah, I was just because you mentioned Castle Freak and I was going through recently added films and I was like, oh, Castle Freak. Okay, there was one in 2020 and it's like terror strikes when a blind woman and her friends travel to a mysterious Albanian castle that harbors dark secrets. So there's been a remake. I think
there is.
Of Fangoria. Of
direct-to-video horror film.
Yeah, direct to my box horror film. My dodgy box horror film. Yeah, I don't.
Wow, there you go.
Want to watch it.
So yeah, I was a bit taken back by that. Because even looking at it, like that was not made in 1995. The quality is, it's like it's a 70s movie that's not been treated well. Even the quality on Shudder is not amazing. Anyway, just bizarre. And then moving on. So swimming here, because we're right across the road from the beach, so we go swimming quite often with Finn playing in the sea, and there's like they call it a creek. It's not a creek. It's like an estuary. So we go and just look at the fish, and there's like puffer fish and tropical fish and everything swimming around, and we're looking at them. And I see this shell. This cone-shaped shell.
Uh-oh.
Now, I know full well that there is an animal called a cone snail or cone shell, and they're viciously venomous, they're very dangerous, and you don't go near them, right?
So you picked it up.
But I know what they look like, because they use the same picture every time. I didn't realise that there are 600-odd types of them that are all completely different, but all just as poisonous.
Oh, God.
So there's this shell. It's absolutely motoring along, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Shells don't move that fast. And I'm like, wow, and it's leaving this like trail. And I've seen this before. I've seen this and I know what that is. But for some reason, it escapes me at that moment. And I'm like, wow, is that a hermit crab? Or that's really moving. So I pick it up.
Oh, God.
I pull it out of the water. And I'm tipping it over and I'm like looking at it in detail. Like, oh, I wonder what that is. And I'm looking in the opening. Anyway, and I put it back down and it zooms off. And then I was looking up all the fish that we saw. And I was like, oh, you moron. You just picked this thing up. They're amazing creatures. They like to think of something like that. They actively hunt, and they are quite fast, and they hunt and eat fish. They create a barb, like I don't know what it's made out of, like shell or whatever it is. They make this barb. It then travels down into this sack to be covered in venom, like you're coating an arrow tip with a frog, right? Not that I've done that, and it's a general thing you do. Just people would know that from watching Discovery Channel. And then it loads it into like its chamber, basically, and then fires it at the fish or animal to kill it instantly. Amazing. Anyway, so that was, I picked up a deadly animal. It's the second time I've done that without realising it. Here's the big thing I did. So Kath got me as we've discussed before on here, not for the listeners, unfortunately. Kath got me a present for Christmas, which was a voucher to go and do a ghost tour. And I thought it'd be good to do it and put it on the podcast if we can record it in some way. But from experience of these things, they don't like people joking and messing around. They take it seriously. So when you're being a flat out jerk, they don't tend to like that. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'd be on my own and everything as well. The other thing they do is you can get a certificate. And I mean, this isn't the sort of thing you need to be certified in, but you can get a certificate and do a training course to be a paranormal investigator. And I was like, oh. And Cass said, why don't you just do that? And I was like, absolutely, I will. And I looked at it, and it was like clearly taking it very seriously. And the person who runs it, actually, she's in magazines and stuff and news here. She does it in this area, in Canberra and New South Wales and everywhere. She has a team, and she goes out and she does paranormal investigations, and she does it, you know, anyway. 6 1-hour modules and an exam. And I was like, oh, God, okay. Because me and Catherine have a few drinks and do it. And I said, well, just so I've got something to talk about, let's just do one of them maybe tonight. And then I don't know where that came from, because we completed the entire course in about 10 minutes, all 6 modules.
Multiple choice pictures, and it's just like a person in a sheet, like a picture of a character. Which one of these is a ghost?
But it's funny because it started off quite intense, and it was so funny because one of them said, it was talking about the equipment, and it says, what could you use a mobile phone for? And there's 4 options, and you tick all that apply. One of them was dumb, like listening to music or something. But it was like, use this app, use it as an EVP, electronic voice phenomenon. So it's a recorder, the ghost voice, basically. Torch. And Kath was like, no, they didn't say torch. And I'm like, yeah, but you could use it as a torch, because where you go, it's going to be dark or whatever. And she was like, no, they didn't mention it. And Kath knows all this stuff. She's like, oh, they didn't mention it in any of that training in the syllabus, so you don't tick it. Okay. Carried on. Incorrect. The torch should have been selected. And she went nuts. And she was like, these people need to speak to whoever's writing their syllabus. I was like, come on now. It's a $40 ghost course. She was really angry about it.
Just like, get me the exam invigilator now.
Does this follow the Socratic method or not? This $40 ghost training.
I could retake, so I went back and retook it, and we got 100%. But it's funny that the closer you got to the end, they'd clearly given up like halfway through, and it was just too much work for them. And they were like, it came from like, you know, you had to do 3 questions at the end of each module, and then towards the end, it was like just do 1 question. It was basically just like a box. It was like ghost, and you just tick that, and it's like, yep. It's like a really bad exam towards the end. But I was like, it's
paranormal or para-abnormal.
I'll just read some of the questions. Inanimate spirits.
Will we be like certified ghost hunters?
Well, I'll get to that. So they've got a picture of Annabelle in the case, the Warrens case, right? And it says, inanimate spirits. Inanimate spirits are embodied by objects rather than people. They can take the form of ships, cars, trains, or even lamps. I was like, what?
Who's got a haunted lamp?
I know. I was like, what does a haunted lamp do? Just flicker?
You turn it on and it goes, whoa.
And then it goes on to say, in Williamstown, there was a haunted locomotive steam train that took the lives of several people.
By running them over when they were on the tracks.
What?
That took
sorry, you're telling me there was a haunted train that killed a load of people? I'd love to see how that stacks up. I've not bothered Googling it yet. I've got better things to do. Well, clearly I haven't, because look at what I'm talking about. The other one was teams. When you're by the end of this chapter, you'll be able to run your first investigation. It was like, teams, always investigate with a reliable, responsible team to ensure you are protected from the living, as well as a spiritual world, it's essential that you investigate as a team. It's basically saying, like, uneven surfaces, like, don't go somewhere and fall over and you're on your own and you become the spirit. This is the best bit. Ensure that you can rely on your teammates and they are of sound mental health. I would argue that if they're there with you for that purpose, they are not of sound mental health whatsoever. They are, as we say in our house, cocoa bananas. And this is the worst bit. I was like, oh, okay. So we went through and we did the whole course. And it says, congratulations, you've completed your online course. I'm like, oh, great, I can download my certificate. And it says, before we issue your certificate, there's one final task left for you to complete. And I was like, oh, it's time to prepare for your first investigation. Okay. For this assignment, they want you to decide when, where, and what time the investigation will run and why you've made the choice. Allocate team members, equipment, and tasks and explain why. Set out all the timings, do a load of research, get all the background information you have. Complete a section on safety, including local hospitals and other items to ensure the investigation is safe and secure. Anything else you feel is important. And the report must be professionally presented as if you are preparing it for a customer. It should be between, and I think they got these numbers mixed up, between 500 and 100 words long. And I'm like, what? I'm not doing that. That's a lot of work and a lot of time. Like, I'm not actually going to do this. Are you serious? And then I was like, oh, I get it. Make the customer do the work. This is the most important lesson in their entire course, where these people are going to be obviously preying on emotionally unstable or emotionally fragile people who are, scared or alone or grieving. Make the customer do the work. And it's like, yes, you just walk in there and start making some noises with some tool that's used to detect heat, and then make them do all the jumps and leaps and, and tell you the whole story. Make them create the whole thing and then bill them at the end. And I was like, yep, that's it. They've got you. Wonderful. So that was there. So I don't know if and when I'm going to get a certificate. I have to now, but that was a bit annoying. Certified. It's a bit of a misnomer, isn't it? Certified. I think the only prerequisite is being crazy as a loon. Anyway,
it's like when Homer becomes a guy, like a personal bodyguard, and they're like, "Well, you're all awful at this, but your checks have cleared, so you're all bodyguards." Like that's you. That's you at the paranormal investigation.
It's a pair of straightening gloves, a can of wall lubricant, and a book to the most commonly asked questions, such as, who are you and what are you doing here?
I like to think that you and Kath just had some random, child-free time. They just sat down, let's finish that exam off. Just, sat opposite each other on, separate tables. Pencils down, the time's up.
Kath's what did you put for this? Shh.
We'll get caught.
Oh, wow. But it's funny, they're listing all this expensive equipment, and I'm like, that's not expensive. You can get those from JCar. And Kath's like, they're probably expensive for people who have this as their profession. And I'm like, oh, yeah. For people who make no money conning widows. That probably is expensive. That $60 item that they're talking about.
One of the most haunted train station in the UK.
What is?
You want to know which one it is, so that you can avoid it.
Oh, yes. I guess.
Leamington Spa Station in the UK is one of the top 3 haunted train stations in the world. It's severely haunted, this article says. Severely haunted. Random doors slamming shut, electrical seizures like lights flicking on and off, and the sound of footsteps as often in this station. And it has a patrol officer called Nick Reese, who is a supernatural patrol officer specialist. And he walks around the station communicating with the spirits and telling them to fuck off, basically. Go away.
That better not be tax money.
Well, I feel like it might be. Leamington Spa Station hires a guy.
You go up to him at the train station, like, do you know what time this train is? And he's like, sorry, mate, I'm only here to bother the ghosts.
He's he's a supernatural liaison officer. And he's on duty as a supernatural liaison officer, and then he sort of talks to the ghosts and tells them to go away. He says one of the haunted areas is a disused basement on platform 3, and the other is the upstairs office building. And he just sort of like goes around saying, "Go away, ghosts," and that's his job. That's cool, isn't it?
Wow.
He must have the certificate.
Imagine that at a like. Oh, so what do you do?
I'm a supernatural liaison officer. Where? Leamington Spa Station. It just seems like just that one place. Like, yeah, just the one place.
Did you know there was once a haunted locomotive that killed several people? I'm a hero.
If only they had
Don't
Nick
mock
Reese
me.
there. If only Nick Reese had been there, it would have been a very different story.
If only. Oh wow! I might check that. I might fact check that for our next episode, and I'll report back on the haunted train. Oh. But if it's a locomotive, like, who keeps giving it fuel if it's killing people?
I mean,
Stop putting coal in it!
Lots of trains kill people, but I don't think you can say that the train is malevolent in any way. It's just that it's a big, heavy thing made of metal that runs people over. It's like, it's not haunted, it's just, it's on a track, for fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean? It can't really, what can it do via towards you?
Don't go on the track.
What if I don't go on the track? Yeah, it can't get you if you don't go on the track. It's the least effective horror villain ever.
It's like that movie. What's that movie with the killer car that Futurama do in the honking?
Oh, Christine.
No, not Christine.
It's like,
I think it's.
I know I
think it's called The Car.
Yeah,
or something like that. But it's the exact. It's like Bender in when he's a wear car. It's the exact same car, and it's like terrorizes. And I'm like, but cars can, like, it's just a regular car. Surely you can get away from that. Having owned a car, you can't drive them everywhere.
Okay, go up
just walk
stairs.
up that hill. Yeah.
Project Satan.
Just stand on something that's more than 3 feet off the ground.
The honking Futurama. Yeah.
Yeah.
Project Satan was a military project. They constructed
it, yeah.
from the most evil parts of the most evil cars in the world.
It's like Charles Manson's left turn signal.
It is. It's like the steering wheel from Hitler's staff car, the left turn signal from Charles Manson's Volkswagen, windshield wipers from the car that played Knight Rider, Ed Begley's electric motor, the most evil propulsion system ever conceived.
Knight Rider wasn't evil. He's like, oh, his windshield wiper was.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 1977 movie called The Car is what it's based on. I've got to watch that. I want to watch that as well. That's another one I've got to watch. That's amazing. Well, that was my week in horror. Anyway.
This is just concluding with 3 films from 1999. So I'm just going to start off with the first film in 1999, but just some honourable mentions of films that didn't make it into the list. So 1999 was a pretty amazing year for horror movies. You had things like Deep Blue Sea, Audition came out, the Asian horror film, Stigmata, the Blair Witch Project, The Sixth Sense came out in 1999.
Yeah.
You also had that Wishmaster film, the second one that I told you about, where he's in prison. And the last week's episode that came out in 1999.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of great films came out around then. But the 3 that I'll be choosing today. So firstly, start off with the David Cronenberg film Existenz. So this is like obviously a sort of bio horror movie, but it takes a more sort of visceral, organic type approach to virtual reality, which obviously moving into sort of the Black Mirror era that we're in now. It's and also with access to sort of relatively good VR. It's one of them films which sort of definitely stands the test of time, but it's one of them movies where the sort of MacGuffin is, are they still in the game? Are they not in the game? what are they still in the game, or maybe they're not in the game? And then the film ends and it goes, but are they still in the game? It's like, how many times are you going to be like, are they still in the game? Are they not in the game? But yeah, you've got a typically 90s Jude Law being his sort of handsome himself. Another thing about David Cronenberg at the moment is he keeps showing up as an actor in like random things. Like he was in Star Trek Discovery, and he just plays like a Starfleet intelligence officer in like the 31st century. When I was watching it, I was like, who's that guy? And I was like, I definitely know that actor. And then you're half watching it and you go on Google and I was like, that's David Cronenberg. I was like, is David Cronenberg in Star Trek now? I was like, so yeah, David Cronenberg is now in Star Trek, but Existenz is sort of a bioterized sort of virtual reality thriller. It also has a lot of really good actors in it. It's Jennifer Jason Leigh's in it, Ian Holm, isn't it? Christopher Eccleston, Willem Dafoe is in it as well. He sort of shows up in halfway through, but it's a typical
star-studded cast.
Yeah, it's a typical David Cronenberg thing where there's a lot of like weird objects that are like pulsating, and there's a lot of like organic, like it's just like it's dead visceral. There's always bits in his films where it's just like you look at it and you're like, I don't want to touch that. And also the gun that they have in the virtual reality is also alive. The pistol that they have is like a weird bio gun, and there's a bit where it's inside of somebody and they have to like pull the gun out of someone. It's just like, oh.
So that weird thing that they have that puts them into that world, I can't remember what it's called. It's like it's almost like attached to them like umbilically, and it's that weird looking.
Yeah.
You can actually, I just saw there's like a jewelry shop online that makes it as like art jewelry. Like the hell would you want to wear that for? That's disgusting. It looks like something that someone's just pulled out of you. Ugh.
Just like just going back to them things that Kirsty got for Finn, any sort of jewelry that's like Existenz, like them coin purses that look like human mouths. have you ever seen them online?
Yeah.
It's like you put like a coin in there, it just goes like, it like makes like a noise that sounds like a jaw, like clenching as well. I think they're from Japan, but yeah.
Of course. Well, the gun looks like a chicken carcass. It's like yesterday's dinner.
This is all happening in like 6 years' time because it's set in the year 2030.
Oh,
That's
God.
what it's set.
Oh, dear.
And one of the reasons I will not be watching it is because whenever I read like a plot and it has loads of made up fucking words in inverted commas, it's like it part of their world building, and it's like game pods present umbicores that attach to bioports connected surgically, and then it's like everyone's got a fucking
Not following
stupid name like gas. No, I'm just like, I can't be bothered with all of this. Like they've all got stupid names. And then it's too complicated, and I'm just like, no, I'll just watch something with a ghost in it, thank you. Is there a ghost? No?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a monster? No. Okay, it's just a fucking load of nerds doing game stuff.
Existenz from 1999 by David Cronenberg. Definitely one to check out, but proceeded with caution because the actual game that they play on is completely disgusting to watch. But moving on to another film that came out in 1999, and this is one of the typical sort of, there was a lot of Millennium themed sort of horror films around that area. This is End of Days, which is Arnold Schwarzenegger in a pretty good horror film for once. I mean, he still plays a sort of Arnold Schwarzenegger type character, but this is sort of Arnold Schwarzenegger versus the devil, where the turn of the century.
Oh, Gabriel Byrne as the devil.
Yeah, he's the man who's inhabited by the devil.
It gets 11% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's not great, but it's still pretty good. It's like he plays like a proper sleazy devil, but he's not actually the devil. He's just like a stockbroker or something who's out for.
Oh my God! So this is a Schwarzenegger movie. So obviously his character is called Jericho Kane.
John Matrix. It's like, we were watching Commando the other day, and it was like, Lewis was like, what's his character's name in this? I was like, his name is John Matrix in this film. That's a name that people have apparently.
Okay.
Which means
Very
that
biblical name.
which means that his daughter in Commando is called Jenny Matrix. Like, they always forget that. They always forget that there's actually family members like Grandma Matrix is coming round for dinner. Auntie Karen Matrix is here. Matrix is not a
family
last
get
name.
together. Oh, sorry, Jed.
But yeah, the whole point of the film is that there's a whole Vatican theory that once every 1,000 years the devil comes to Earth and inhabits the body of a human, and there's obviously a woman who is supposed to be like the vessel for the Antichrist, and the man who's inhabited by the devil is Gabriel Byrne. But it's just one of the movies where it's a lot of the themes in it are sort of a lot more sort of surrealist, and like Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't overly play it as as an action hero. A lot of it's a bit more of him actually acting. It does have quite a lot of negative reviews, but I mean, it came out at the same sort of time as I think it actually came out the same year as so it came out the same year as Stigmata. So like Stigmata and End of Days are pretty much have exactly the same sort of feeling to it. So it's one of them films where it's worth a watch, but I mean it's obviously not the best. It's not the best sort of movie. I actually think there's a bit in it as well where Arnold Schwarzenegger tries to attack the devil and there's go to hell.
Of course he does.
Nice.
I think this could be this. So it's set in 1979, and it's a newborn baby girl, identified by Satanists as one chosen to be the mother of Satan's child. I was born in 1979. It could be about me. I could be Satan's child. And then it says, I love this. So, I love Wikipedia plot summaries because it says Jericho Kane, who is depressed since his wife and daughter's contract killings. Depressed! So, depressed is a word that you could use to describe your wife and daughter being killed by a contract killer.
Why were they killed by a contract killer?
I don't know.
What's his job? Is it related? Was she a spy?
He's a retired NYPD detective, and his wife and daughter were killed in a contract killing. So now he works for a private security company and blames God for his plight.
Right.
And Jericho. So Jericho is the name of the baby in Servant as well that I've been watching that Jed recommended last episode. But his name's Jericho Kane. I just find that, and then I don't know. It's just I just love the way that these plot summaries are written. So they go to a priest called Thomas Aquinas, which is an actual priest from the Middle Ages or something like that, and then they find his tongue in a jar. I just love this stuff. It turns out he was trained by the Vatican as an exorcist. So me and Paul were actually baptized by the local exorcist. So
what?
Yeah, did you not know that?
No, I know very little about my childhood or any diseases that I might get because I wasn't told a bloody thing.
Right, well, you and me were baptized
I could have made a living off this, Kirsty. I'm only now qualified
to be a paranormal investigator. Yeah, we were both baptized by a priest called Father Blanc, and Father Blanc was the diocese exorcist.
What?
There's a house with a famous poltergeist story round the corner from me, and he exorcised that house. And I think that us, and I remember going to see The Exorcist when it was re-released in about when would it have been? 2001 maybe? I went to see The Exorcist at the cinema, and I went in and I was by myself in the cinema. It was a Friday afternoon, and it was Halloween, by the way. And I sort of sat in there, watched the whole thing, and then I was on the bus home, just absolutely terrified, going that was a terrifying film, and I was by myself watching the whole thing. Got home and told Mum, and I was scared of that film. It actually really scared me. And she went, "Oh, don't worry, you were so Father Blanc, who baptized you and Paul, was the local exorcist, so you're probably covered." as if all the demons are I will possess you. Oh no, wait, sorry, are you one of Father Blanc's? Oh, never mind. Like, he's well dead by now. But like, as if the demons were just kind of like, he was dead by that point in 2001. Do you know what I mean? But it's almost like the demons just kind of knew, and they would leave you alone, like out of respect. I was like, okay, cool, Mum, thank you for that. But yeah, me and you were both baptized by the diocese exorcist, and every diocese in the Catholic Church has someone who, if called upon, can do an exorcism. So in my job as a teacher, you can do this thing called like an extra professional payment or something. So I've had it a few times where like I had equality and diversity role, and you basically get an extra 1,200 quid in your pay packet every year for doing this role. And it's kind of the same if you're a priest. They go, do you want to be the exorcist? It's like, well, how many exorcisms am I going to have to do? Probably none. You probably won't have to do any, but it's like extra responsibility payment. And you go,
money for jam,
yeah. And then, but then I suppose that like, I'd love to make a little film about someone who just took the money and then was like, yeah, you need to go and do an exorcism. It's like, what? I'm sorry, I was assured there would not be any exorcisms, because you've got to get permission from the Vatican. It's not like a thing you could just do. You have to, like, the Vatican still, like,
it's not like being a paranormal investigator.
It's not like being a paranormal investigator. You have to go to the Pope, and the Pope and all the, the cats at the Vatican have to kind of like.
I'd be like John Goodman. Always nice to meet a colleague.
Yeah. And you just kind of have to go and get permission, and you have to give evidence that it's worthy of an exorcism, like, or they'll just go, no, you're not doing it. But they still do exorcisms in the Catholic Church. So I don't know. I just feel like I was just reading the sort of plot of End of Days and thinking, I'm covered for any of that business going on.
But yeah, it's typical sort of sort of millennium fever type thing. But moving on to the final film in this week's list is the movie from final movie from 1999, which is Virus, which stars Jamie Lee Curtis, not Alec Baldwin, but William Baldwin.
Billy Baldwin.
And Donald Sutherland as a merchant navy people who end up finding a Russian ship in the middle of the sea. It's been taken over by an evil sort of alien virus, titular with the name. But it starts turning people into like sort of biomechanical sort of Meccano cyborgs that are just absolutely like really, really horrible.
Yeah, they're like they're sort of, I don't know who did it, but like the Stan Winston style props where they're showing them getting built are just horrifying.
At one point, it turns Donald Sutherland into like a half man, half robot thing that's just like a bunch of like pistons with a head and these like inner sailor's jumper.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the photos now. That does look horrifying. It looks, if you look at the cover of the movie, it looks like something you'd be like, nah, skip, trash. But then if you just look at the Virus movie Cyborg I put in on Google Images, that's terrifying. That's horrifying.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Wow.
It also came out with a line of action figures.
Of course it did.
I can't get over the fact that the captain is called Robert Everton. Like that kind of. I can't take it seriously. It's like
Robert Everton.
It's like it says on Volkov, the ship, most of the electronics have been destroyed and the Russian crew are seemingly missing. Everton orders Steve to help a fellow crewman. It feels like there's a football club just going like, hey, we're getting involved. Why are you doing this? I don't know. We're just here. We're involved.
And there's going to be at least 11 of us.
At least.
So what comes up in the image searches as well, which looks incredible, it's a bit beyond the 90s, though, Jed, so we can't talk about it. Cyborg X, starring Danny Trejo.
I love Danny Trejo.
Oh, wow. It looks similar, but in a way that would have Danny Trejo in it. Anyway, sorry, go on.
Right, okay. So, yeah, but that sort of wraps up Virus. It's a little bit of a weird 1990s creepy cyborg film with Donald Sutherland gets turned into an absolutely horrible biomachine. But yeah, that sort of wraps up Retro Roundup for this week.
It's the toys.
Demonic toys. Playtime has begun.
So these ones, and Kirsty, you're guilty of this. Bugglers.
Whoa, what?
Fuggler.
Oh, I sent one for
Bugler.
Finn.
You sent one for Finn. As always, if I remember, these will be posted on the socials. We'll have to do these segments and post them properly because I keep forgetting, and then I'll put a post up after like a week of something silly. Anyway, so they're crazy looking monster teddy bears, and we've all seen that before. And really, there's not much that's unique about them, other than you'll see that they all have exposed teeth. Yeah. These teeth, and I can speak from experience because Kirsty bought one for my little boy. They look like real teeth, like they've got them from a dentist or something. They're hideous. And there's tons of different ones. Now, I went to look for these. We thought he'd lost it. He hadn't. We do still have it. Were you concerned that he'd lost it, or have you just looked at the photo of them?
No, I just looked at the photos.
Oh my God.
Horrible.
So we thought he'd lost it.
Why would you send this to a child?
You asked Kirsty that question.
It was in the spirit of Paul having things like Rude Ralph and Boglins. I thought, oh, Finn will love this. To be fair, he probably was a little bit young for it. I think he was like 2 or 3.
So anyway, I looked at them and it's like, oh no, they've been discontinued. And I was like, oh, they've made a comeback. Because we were going through somewhere
everywhere.
Kmart or somewhere a few weeks ago, or maybe a couple of months ago. And they were back and they had heaps of them, all these different ones there. We obviously didn't buy any more of them, but the reason that we're bringing them up is because they do look like real teeth, even on close inspection, that they've got from an old shut down dentist's office or something. Hideous things. Just the teeth I didn't like at all. And the other thing is something from my childhood that came up that I loved and I completely forgot about. In the vein of Rude Ralph and Boglins, Mad Balls.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they did anything. I think it was just a rubber ball. But it was like a rubber ball, but it had a horrible face. So it was like a baseball with this like big, horrible, scary face.
You had the one which was like a mummy face. So it's like a rotting old, and it's £110 on eBay now, if you've still got it.
Of course I don't. Don't have any of my old Star Wars toys either. I had the Star Wars Rancor toy, which was worth a fortune and very rare.
Yeah, you had all
sold
that
that for about £5, I think.
Yeah. I remember Mad Balls.
And the one that I love the most, because they're all just little like baseball-sized balls, or tennis ball, if you've never played baseball. Including me. I don't know why I know that. One of them was like a rugby ball, or what it was obviously American football. And it was like it's got like these fins on the back of it, like it's a missile, but it's also got gills and teeth and drool coming out. And it was like a big, like rugby ball, like American football one as well.
Yeah, because
this is just uber nostalgic.
You also had one called Crackhead, which was basically a face with the brain exposed. You had that one, and that's £85 on eBay if you want one of those.
These stupid nerds. I can't relive any of this stuff. I can't afford to buy these things now. Well, I'll get in a lot of trouble if I do. Let's put it that way. How much was that horrible thing you bought? Oh yeah, the Cyclops one, or
with the nose ring.
Yeah. So that hit me in the childhood, seeing that.
Do you remember Werebears?
Yeah, Jeb brought those up in a previous episode.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I had the Fang one, and then my younger brothers who were twins, they both got the Gums one. So they got matching ones, and I had the Fang one. They used to come with a little tape. They used to come with the little tapes as well, where it'd be like a scientist and a laboratory, and he's like, "Oh, the bears, they're turning into monsters."
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
I've got something to add for toys. I was looking into Our Real Monsters, which arguably you can say was probably like the proto Monsters Inc. Like Monsters Inc. is literally just Our Real Monsters, but like Pixar-fied. But the thing about Our Real Monsters on Nickelodeon is that the toys that they had were absolutely gross as hell. Like, I'm just going to post some of the pictures in the chat that we have. Like, these are the first picture is just like a collection of some of the toys. And then I've got some like close-ups of some of the things. And the little captions that came with them are just insane. You have Werfel. He's like, you've got to like spring his mouth, and he's got like you like spin his tail around his head, and his like mouth spits something out. But they have this one as well, which is like an eyeball. And the caption is, flip his eyelid to change him into a squid. It's just like a weird eyeball.
Oh, yeah.
There's this one called Scarifer. Spoon makes his mouth open, recycles his meals, bugs and spoon included. This one is absolutely horrible. Like, a lot of them are dead weird looking, but this one's absolutely gross. This one is for Splug. And it goes, he drools and slobbers water, so obviously he's filling it with water.
Gross.
And it just looks like a brain, like a organ spludge
like
on the floor.
Tumour that someone's just taken out of somebody.
Yeah. And this one you get 2 for 1. So you get Spronk and Gronk, and it goes, Gronk launches Spronk from his mouth, and it just looks like a gaping Leviathan, like Lovecraftian maw. And then there's a bunch of them together, which is that's like has the 2 of them there, but then 2 more, and another one is just like a pair of eyes on like a malformed body, and one of them's just like a massive mouth. But if you like pull back the massive mouth, he spits out his own brain. This is like a primetime Nickelodeon cartoon in the 90s, which is like completely ridiculous. But
excellent.
Yeah, our real monster toys were absolutely ridiculously grim. Like, everything about that series, like their school was in a sewer. It's just that it wasn't like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles sewer. It was like a real, this is where shit goes to the sewer. Yeah, Our Real Monster toys, like, we kids in the 90s collected these, and they're all equally disgusting.
So I've got one for you, Kirsty, that I'll put in for you. It's a toy called, and it's a vintage toy, but it's called Fright Factory, and it's where you can make your own like horror prosthetics. So like, you can make like, for Halloween you get the Dracula fangs and like the rubber ears and all that sort of stuff. It's that, right. And I thought, it's just a box full of those, but it's actually got molds and this machine, and it looks like you've got these like liquids that you squirt, like dyed stuff, like rubber compound or something that you squirt into the molds, and then you put them in this machine that looks like an old car stereo, and then it makes your horror props. But the thing that I love most about it is one of the pictures they use. I'll post this now. It looks like, do you remember, we're doing this too much. Well, I'm doing this too much. Remember The Simpsons where Lisa wants to go to the museum, but Bart glues all that stuff to his face from the joke store?
Yeah.
It looks exactly like that. Let me just stick it in. Again, we'll put all this on our socials, but this is a picture of like, this kid's just overdone it.
What the hell?
What's that supposed to be? And I was like, but isn't that very accurate? Because the first thing Finn would do with this is he'd make all of it at once and just stick every single thing on his face at once and then be done with it after 20 minutes, and then it'd just go in the bin.
The advert says, now you can be the monster you've always wanted to be. It's like, I don't think I wanted to be a monster with a bone through his nose, a padlock on its head, and then 2 giant walrus tusks.
He's always wanted to be that monster.
I've always wanted to have walrus tusks. I was just Googling it then, and I found it. So you can still get something very similar called Fright Factory. And the Daily Mail, who, if you're listening outside the UK, is a very right-wing, reactionary, ridiculous rag. And it's like, Incredible Edibles Fright Factory will allow kids to slurp brains. And it's just like, it's a toy that you can get it on Amazon, and it's like, you basically make, you can make things that are just exactly like what you've described. If for $14.99.
Oh, is it it's got
creepy
like
crawlies and beasts? Yeah.
Yeah, I can see.
It's got goo in it. It's basically like slime, isn't it? That you can make stuff out of.
Yeah.
But like,
cool.
I love that kid's face. I'm so happy. It's like, I've got walrus tusks, a padlock on my head, 2 fake eyes, and a bone under my nose. Okay.
This looks like the halfway point of that movie Tusk.
Yeah.
It's like the scar on his face. Just get them a tell bit.
Welcome to Needful Things.
So I've got one horrified board game, which looks incredible. I'll post it. But you basically get to play the classic like Hammer horror monsters. It's just a really cool looking board game, and it's a Ravenscraft one, so it's not like some, you're not going to understand it, and the manual's horribly written. Board games are all the rage, and now your horror fan friend can assemble their own personal monster squad. I mean, that just says it all. To defend against 7 of Universal's most fearsome figures in this cooperative strategy game from Ravensburger. It's not even expensive. It looks amazing. I'll post a chat, but it's just like a classic horror movie. You got Frankenstein in there, Dracula, swamp monsters in it.
Yeah.
Oh, the Creature of the Black Lagoon. I calls him Swamp Monster. Looks amazing. So highly recommend that. The other thing I've got is, and this is like an Etsy sort of thing. I don't know where else it will be available, but there's a lot of them around that's basically the same thing. It's a mini pet ghost in a jar. So, you get the little jars, and it's got like we've got one that's got Totoro in it, and it's got like a little diorama. It's got some like moss and stuff around it. This one's like a proper like sheet with 2 eyes, glow in the dark ghost in its own little jar. I thought that was awesome. Cool little thing to have on your desk. And finally, and this is off Facebook Marketplace I came across. It's the only good thing I came across. So as from last week, we said we didn't bring this up because of what happened on the last episode. But yeah, the sexy pillow cushion, it's everywhere. There's, I've got one now that's the sexy horror throw rug, and it's got even more characters on it. There's Jigsaw, well not Jigsaw, but whatever the doll's called in that. It's got it's got Hannibal Lecter. It's got a few more on it. I'll post that as well. But that's now become less of a thing because there's just too much of it going. Any witch collectors out there? From $2 to $15 each. It's barely a collection. I would say there are sub 10 witches, but it's just the most bizarre collection of items I've ever seen. And why would you? It's not the sort of thing you'd collect. $75 for all of them.
Where my witches at?
From Kirsty's advice, I was on Temu, and for some reason Temu have plush toys of aliens, but just the face hugger and the chest burster.
The only 2 you need.
It's just absolutely ridiculous. It looks like it's like made out of velvet. So weird.
They're horrible.
So are they together, or do you have to buy them as separate things?
You have to buy them separately. You can also get them free if you buy up to 5 things.
That's a sign of a quality product. You get them for free if you buy 5 things. Oh, the face hugger's not the best.
Looks like they were made out of couch cushions.
Like the version you would win at a fairground is what they look like.
Okay, so I have, as a lovely present from my brother, a Stephen King themed tote bag with a lot of images on it relating to different Stephen King books and or films. So I'm going to take a picture of it. We're going to put it up on all the social media, and we want to try and get to identify every single film, because some of them are quite obvious. Some of them are not obvious in any way. And also there might be the added curveball of the fact this was probably just created in China, where they don't really read Stephen King very much. Where they're just like, okay, this is a Stephen King thing. And we're like, no, it's not. So it might be that some of the
good money on that bet.
It might be that some of the things I don't. Oh, what's the description of it? It was something like
Stephen King himself.
Stephen King himself bag. So we're gonna put it up on all
like Step and Tote horror bag.
I mean, I love the bag, but when I was looking at it, I was like, okay, I get that, and then I was like, what the fuck's that? I don't know what that is. So we're gonna take a picture and put it up on all the social media, and we want to see if we can identify every single reference to Stephen King on the bag.
Yes.
And also, as part of my week in horror, I got On Writing by Stephen King. I haven't started it yet, but I bought it, and so I'm gonna write a horror book during the next year of the podcast using this book.
Yeah,
because that's what is.
I was thinking another couple, and then we'll can it.
I'll just carry on my own. I'll just carry on my own. You're like, I'm actually happy now, so I don't need to do this anymore. No, I was like, I'll just do that for the next. That could be part of the. So
just my identity.
We'll put the bag up. You can guess them, and then I'll update you every week on my how my horror book is going.
Stephen King's on horror book. You just open it up, it's just one page and it just says "do cocaine."
Well, I love him. He did a book called Dance Macabre, which was basically the history of horror up to the point of he wrote it, which was like 1976 or something like that. And that was a great book. He does have a little anecdote in it where he's like, he went to a Black Panthers meeting and they were like, the American government's against us, blah, blah, blah. And he basically stands up, this white, gangly old nerd with glasses, and goes, do you really think that the whole American government is against you? And they're like, and they all kind of boo him. Oh, sit down, you. And then like the guy goes, you didn't expect that, did you, buddy? He's like, oh no. I love the idea of Stephen King, the horror novelist, going, I think the Black Panthers are wrong. You're not being persecuted. I, as a white man who's going to be very fucking rich in the future, thinks that you are not being persecuted and you should just shut up. And he does have a lot of slightly, I mean, I forgot how many times the N-word is dropped in The Shining before I watched it with my black partner. So I was watching it and I was just like, let's watch this film. It's a classic. You'll love it. And then it gets to a certain point and I'm like, oh shit. Right. He says this a lot in the next 10 minutes, right?
And he's like, that cook better be the hero. In a way.
Stanley Kubrick behind the camera, just like, say it again.
It's not in the book either. So he was like, Lewis is sat there going, so that was a lot of N-words.
You really wanted me to watch.
He was like, is that...
Do we need to have a talk?
Oh, I just forgot. And he's like, yeah, I won't forget. I was like, yeah, okay. Oh, my God. White privilege. Here we go. I won't forget. I was like, oh, shit, yeah. I'm rude. Sorry.
Putting on next American History X.
I like that in in the book, like when I was talking to people about the differences between the book and the film. So in the book, the actual maze has these topiary animals that come to life, and it is scary in the book. But I understand why they didn't do it in the film, because I don't think the graphics would have stood up.
However, if you look at the cover that we posted a while ago,
yeah, right. So all like, but then
they're not scary.
The other thing that's not in the book is Danny talking to his finger. It's not in the book at all.
No,
it's so where he's like, hi, he's like doing this weird voice, and I was just like, and then Lewis was like, what's that meant to be? I was like, I don't really know, it's not in the book. It's just that he's doing.
And I'm sorry, but I think as a weapon, I know he goes mad with the sort of fire axe at the end. In the book, he's got a roke mallet.
Yeah,
that he's just
yeah.
like smashing through the walls. And I'm like, oh, a mallet's much better. That's a much scarier weapon than an axe.
Now I'm an adult dad. I know that a mallet is much better than an axe. Adult dad, I know about tools.
We don't have roke here, so I use a croquet mallet. It's basically the same thing, isn't it, Finn?
When they were shooting that scene, like Jack Nicholson used to work as a volunteer fireman, so he could just welly the axe right through that door, like straight away. And Stanley Kubrick was just like, you need to back this up a bit. We like you keep breaking the door in half like every time. You need to dial it back a bit so we can actually get a little hole. One of my favourite things about The Shining as well is I watched a documentary recently about Blade Runner. And one of the versions of Blade Runner where they go to, by the end of the film, like Deckard and Rachel go to an upstate like house because they escape the city. The footage where you see the car going to the road is actually footage that was filmed for The Shining because they ran out of money for extra shots and they wanted some overhead scenes for like forest and stuff for the ending. And they didn't have enough budget to get it, so Ridley Scott knew that Stanley Kubrick was an absolute obsessive with shooting things that he didn't need. So he just got on the phone to him. He's like, have you still got any of that footage from The Shining where you did like a load of aerial shots of like upstate New York? And he's like, yeah, just crop it a bit and you can have it. Send it to him in the post from his house and that.
I really, like, something that really bothers me about The Shining, like, obviously I've seen the documentary about it, and it's like Shelley Duvall was completely ruined after that film because Stanley Kubrick is such a sexist arsehole that he's like, women can't act, you just have to chase them with axes to make them react. It's like, women can't be actresses. Like, if you want a woman to cry, you have to punch her in the face and scare her and be horrible to her, and it's like, no, she could have just acted. And it's like, Jack Nicholson acted. Yeah, Jack Nicholson's a man. And they treated her like shit on that film. And she
Tell you what, though, it's all up there on screen, Kirsty.
No, but you know what, people, whenever I see people like reviewing The Shining and they're like, oh, Shelley Duvall was a bit over the top. It's like, no, she wasn't. She wasn't over the top. That is exactly how a human female acts when you're
she was amazing in that, and no other actor could do that. It wouldn't have been the same with anyone else.
And just the fact that he didn't trust her in any way to be scared and act scared. And it's like, I'll tell you what, if there's any breed of human who knows how to be scared, it's women. We're scared all the fucking time. We're scared. I'm scared when I go to co-op at 9:45. I think I'm going to die every single day that I do that. If the sun goes down, I'm fucking scared. If I have to walk down an alley, I'm scared. If a man comes anywhere near me, I'm scared. Like, we know how to be scared. Don't worry about it, Stanley Kubrick. We know how to be fucking scared. Do you know who's not good at being scared? Fucking men. They don't know how to be scared. They're always getting they're always getting killed. They're always walking into absolutely ridiculous situations. They're always walking into danger, and they are never scared of fucking anything. That's why they get beaten up so much and killed. Like, they don't know how to be scared. We're good at it. We're good at it. Just let us do it.
So you're going to be starring in this movie, you're right, Kurs?
Yeah, I'll be great in it.
There's a woman on TikTok and she looks like Shelley Duvall, like an English comedian woman. And she's done sketches where she's basically used the film as a background for herself and put herself into The Shining.
Is it Bridget Christie? Is that who it is?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, Bridget Christie's
and she's
amazing.
Just like there, like, there's a bit where she's like looking at these words in the typewriter and goes, is this all you've been doing all day? This is just nonsense. I thought you were supposed to be writing a book. I mean, come on. We've been arguing about that maze all day and this is all you've been doing. It's like, I'm going to bed. I've had enough of this.
I definitely feel it with The Shining sometimes when I come home. And Lewis is like, I can beat you at darts. It's like, yeah, of course you fucking can because you've not done the washing up. You've been playing darts all fucking day. Is that all you've been? Is that why you're so good in about the space of 2 months? You've never thrown a dart in your life, and suddenly you're absolutely fucking brilliant. Do you know why that is? Because that's all you do all day. We've definitely been getting into that argument recently. It's like, I'm great. Guess what? I just threw a 180. Yeah, do you know what? There's still fucking dishes in the sink. That's why you're good at darts. You've got nothing else
I had to wash
do.
180 dishes.
You just like come back from work one day and just a dartboard in the sink and he goes, I don't know.
I got confused. I had to do something and I forgot what it was.
Like, I don't know what happened here.
To be fair, that's just me. That's just me being like pissed off at the fact he's better at darts than me, and he beats me all the time. I'm like, oh, clearly got too much time on your hands.
You're at a natural disadvantage because you've got to like throw it up anyway.
Exactly right. I use the men's hockey when we've got an hockey in our house, and I use the men's hockey. I don't use the women's one. I use the one that they used in tournaments. So, like, I think I'm doing pretty well.
I haven't got time for darts. I've got to think about walking to the co-op later.
I've got to plan it out, really. I've got my mace in my hand. I've got a knife. I'm not allowed to take the knife into the co-op. They've told me that, so I have to, like, work this out.
That tote bag's just full of pool balls.
Just socks with pool balls in them. And I take my... Yeah, of course my darts aren't very good. I take them to the co-op every night in case I'm attacked. So I've got a couple of things. So first of all, I was on Facebook and it was I bought things off Shein before, right? And so now it just gives me Shein stuff all the time. So Shein is like, you know, the cheap shit clothes website. I actually really like the clothes I've had off there. But it just advertised...
You love your cheap shit clothes.
Well, the ones I've had off there, because I get cotton things, and do you know what I mean? So they're just decent. But it advertised to me this jumper, which is a black hoodie, and it says, somebody's feral aunt in a sort of 70s... I would call it Cooper Black is the font. And then it's got like a skeletal hand, like sort of doing the devil sign. But then it's got just
backwards.
4. It's also then just got 4 random bones, like finger bones at the side. And I was like, that's weird. And I thought, all right, so maybe this is a phrase or something. Like, because I was like, somebody's feral aunt. It's like, well, I am an aunt, you know, and I am feral and I belong to someone. So I was like, okay, I could get that. And then I thought, is this a phrase from something? But no, it's just 3 random words. And you can also get ones that say somebody's feral brother, someone's feral grandma. I was like, where the fuck has this come from? I don't understand where the phrase. I thought it was a phrase that was maybe in a film or you know, it was a reference to something. No, it isn't. They've just made this up.
I don't understand the font choice.
I don't.
So it's the devil sign, like rock and roll thing, but backwards, as if you're sticking your fingers up.
Yeah.
And then
just for
somebody's
random...
feral aunt in a, for anyone who doesn't know fonts, that 70s show font. What the fuck?
I think it would say like groovy party.
Yeah, like big bubble font. And then it's also just got like 4 disembodied finger bones as well.
Yeah, just to make up the...
I don't
and they don't
get
need
it.
To be there.
Absolutely don't need to be there. And it was just, it's one of the many... It kind of reminds me of those t-shirts that you get. It's like, don't mess with a guy who's a Scorpio who loves motorcycles who was born in June. And it's like...
just way too much text
so specific.
I'm not reading that, mate.
And they're obviously just like designed by AI and like put through the Facebook algorithm to get all the information off your Facebook profile and advertise, don't mess with a lady called Sandra who likes cats and was born on a Thursday. I was like, all right, it's very specific. And the other thing, so I just remember, my friend Karen bought me this little figure from Spain when she went there, which is, it's like a little figure in a white, the one that I've got is in a white robe with a pointed...
Oh, Kirsty, what the hell?
Purple hat. And it's called a Capirote,
They should know.
It's called a capirote.
that pointed hat.
But I had it in my kitchen, and then I kind of never thought anything of it until my partner moved in, who is black, and he was like, "What the fuck is that?" It's like, what? This? What do you mean?
You have a Ku Klux Klan figure?
Why do you have a clan? I was like, it's not a clan figure. It's a Spanish, Catholic figure with a pointed hood. It's a very old, and he was just like, it's a fucking clan member. Get it out of the kitchen. And he
trying to give him a history lesson.
Yeah, I was.
Should have gone. You know what? Yeah, no, let's get rid of it.
I was trying to explain.
You don't understand.
Well,
Why am I defending this?
I was trying to explain myself. I didn't want him to think, oh yeah, I used to like the clan before I kind of saw you and went, okay, black men, I've changed my mind.
I like the gollywog.
Well, this is the other. So talking about things like, I also, we went round to mine and Paul's dad's house, and this was not an item that belonged in the house. It was an inherited item that had ended up in the house because someone had passed away, and it was in the house, and it was a fridge freezer, right? Nothing wrong with that, except it had a gollywog magnet on it. And he was like, what the fuck is this? I was like, oh my God. And all this kind of happened in the same week. So it was like the Ku Klux Klan ornament and then the gollywog. And I was just like, we're not all racist. We just don't really understand stuff sometimes. He found it quite funny.
We're not racist. We're just northern.
We're just northern. To be fair, he did take a picture of the gollywog, sending it to all his friends, going, just found this in my girlfriend's parents' house. He got a bit of a laugh out of it, but so the capirote,
AITA,
just so the capirote, just in case, is not the Ku Klux Klan. It is a Catholic, and do you know what? It's one of those things.
Anyone who owns clan figurines, if you ever need to get out of a sticky situation, just say.
No, burning a cross on the front is something that Spanish Catholics
also,
do during
listening
the
to my fucking podcast.
Feast of Santa Magdalena. It's nothing to do with racism. But wow. That I have had to hide that away. I've had to hide the capirote. And I just thought I'd warn people that if someone brings you a lovely little trinket from Spain, just be careful what you do with it, because some people might freak out and think it's the Ku Klux Klan. Yeah.
Just have a really long printed explanation laminated and put next to the figure. Or you know what? Throw it in the fucking bin. Would be my advice.
Someone sees it, goes, oh my God, what's that? You go, hang on, I've got an envelope here which I need you to open and digest. I've printed it out.
You could have it as like a garden gnome if you can file down the top of the hat somehow. If you get a grinding wheel.
It's like 3 inches high.
Use Warhammer paint and then turn it into Dan Aykroyd from Coneheads.
Came back the very next day. Came back, thought it was a goner.